Day 140 of the Trump administration. Put another way, Election Day was 7 months ago tonight, and our attention on this day was consumed by the widely anticipated and widely watched testimony from James Comey, the former FBI director who was fired by the president. Comey said the Trump administration lied, plain and simple, about why he was fired, saying the president changed his story and that it was really all about Russia. He confirmed to feel pressure to make the Flynn investigation go away. Comey also seems to have taken the president's comments about the FBI as a whole very personally.
The explanations, the shifting explanations, confused me and increasingly concerned me. So it confused me when I saw on television the president saying that he actually fired me because of the Russia investigation. And although the law required no reason at all to fire an FBI director, the administration then chose to defame me and, more importantly, the FBI by saying that the organization was in disarray, that it was poorly led, that the workforce had lost confidence in its leader. Those were lies, plain and simple.
Do you believe the Russia investigation played a role?
And why I was fired?
Yes.
Yes, because I've seen the president say so. It's my judgment that I was fired because of the Russia investigation. I was fired in some way to change, or the endeavor was to change the way the Russia investigation was being conducted.
And before we discuss today's comments from Comey about Mike Flynn and whether the president pressured him to drop the investigation into Flynn, recall this line from Comey's written statement that we got a look at yesterday, quote, "I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. He is a good guy. I hope you can let this go." There was a lot made today over that word hope and what it really meant in this context.
I hope. This is the president speaking. I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. He is a good guy. I hope you can let this go. Now, those are his exact words. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you wrote them here and you put them in quotes?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for that. He did not direct you to let it go.
Not in his words, no.
He did not order you to let it go.
Again, those words are not an order.
No. He said, I hope.
And the reason I keep saying his words is I took it as a direction.
Right.
I mean, this is the President of the United States with me alone saying, I hope this. I took it as this is what he wants me to do.
As you perceived it, while it was a request that you hoped you did away with it, you perceived it as an order, given his position, the setting, and the like, and some of the circumstances.
Yes.
You know, you and I are both former prosecutors. I'm not going to require you to answer. I just want to make a statement that in my experience of prosecuting cases, when a robber held a gun to somebody's head and said, I hope you will give me your wallet, the word hope was not the most operative word at that moment.
So what did the president really mean? Recall this tweet, quote, James Comey had better hope, there's that word again, that there are no tapes of our conversations before he starts leaking to the press. Comey says it was after seeing that tweet from the president that he decided to get out his own version of their meeting in the form of his contemporary notes, and he did that in the hopes a special counsel would be appointed to oversee this investigation.
Look, I've seen the tweet about tapes. Lordy, I hope there are tapes.
Do you believe there were any tapes or recordings of your conversations with the president?
It never occurred to me till the president's tweet. I'm not being facetious. I hope there are, and I'll consent to the release of.
So both of you are in the same findings here. You both hope there's tapes and recordings.
Well, all I can do is hope. The president surely knows whether he taped me, and if he did, my feelings aren't hurt. Release all the tapes. I'm good with it. The president tweeted on Friday after I got fired that I better hope there's not tapes. I woke up in the middle of the night on Monday night, because it didn't dawn on me originally, that there might be corroboration for our conversation. There might be a tape. And my judgment was I needed to get that out into the public square. And so I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memo with a reporter. Didn't do it myself for a variety of reasons, but I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel. And so I asked a close friend of mine to do it.
Let's bring in our starting panel tonight, which tonight features three top-notch White House correspondents: NBC's own Kristen Welker, Julie Pace of the Associated Press, and Peter Baker of the New York Times. And here with us in New York, Jeremy Bash, Chief of Staff to both the CIA Director and Defense Secretary during the Obama administration, former counsel to the House Intelligence Committee. Welcome to you all at the end of a long day. Kristen Welker, I'll start with you. As our media divides up tonight, the coverage on the left is slam dunk obstruction case. The coverage on the right says, oh, it turns out Comey's a leaker. The New York Times is reporting tonight the president watched about 45 minutes of the hearing in the White House. What is the reaction you are hearing from the White House?
Well, that squares with my reporting as well, Brian. Look, I think the reaction from the White House is that they are picking out what they think benefits them from Comey's testimony. They think that there are things that happened today that actually help the president's argument. You're going to hear his surrogates repeat those things over and over again. One, that he corroborated the fact that the president said that Comey told him he wasn't under investigation. The fact that Comey said today that the president didn't urge him to drop the Russia investigation broadly. And then that point that you raised, Brian, the fact that Comey acknowledged leaking out his own memos. That's something that I think the president and his surrogates are really going to be focused on in the coming days and weeks. In terms of how the president processed this entire hearing today, I am told that he was in and out of a dining room in the White House. He was watching it with his legal counsel. He was watching it with some of his top aides. But they really tried to keep him preoccupied today, Brian. They scheduled a big speech, his advisors did. He started off the day meeting in the Oval Office with some of his top officials, and he didn't tweet. This was a whole new level of message discipline. The question is he going to be able to keep this going? What happens on Sunday when he wakes up to all of the Sunday shows? Will he start tweeting then? He left his messaging to his outside counsel, Mark Kasowitz, today, and it was really a remarkable discipline from a president who typically wakes up every morning and starts tweeting before 7 a.m.
Julie Pace, part of this Haberman Thrush piece, as Kristen just said tonight, says he was unusually disciplined during the day. Also says they did stack up his schedule. Part of what you wrote today was about the president's record on truth-telling and potential reversals versus Comey, the former FBI chief. Expand on that, if you would.
Well, I think what we saw from Comey today was essentially a challenge that he laid out to lawmakers, to the public, and really perhaps ultimately to Bob Mueller, who's now the special counsel here, which is, which version of events do you believe? Do you believe this version that I am telling you I detailed in memos in essentially real time and that I am describing here in detail under oath? Or do you believe the president, who has a track record, frankly, of skirting the truth on issues big and small? From the very first day in office, in his first full day in office, President Trump was sending his advisors out to skirt the truth about the size of the inauguration crowd. And you see this in poll numbers. When you ask Americans about the president's, whether they think he's honest and trustworthy, he's at a pretty low number there. So Comey, again, lays out this challenge, and I think that it does. The answer to that question, who do you believe, may not result in anything that is related to the investigation or any legal implications for the president, but it certainly could hurt him politically. And to have that kind of damage at this point in a presidency, I think would be pretty difficult to overcome.
Peter Baker, allow me to quote from a piece by Peter Baker in tonight's New York Times. Headline: "For Trump, the cloud just grew that much darker. Thanks to Mr. Trump's own actions, the cloud darkened considerably on Thursday. Now seems likely to hover over his presidency for months, if not years. In his anger at Mr. Comey, Mr. Trump may have actually made himself the target of an investigation." Expand on that, please, and explain how it is to our audience, the through line, how one tweet from this president resulted in a special counsel.
Well, that's right, exactly. Look, he was upset at at Comey not saying publicly that he was not under investigation. He actually had asked, of course, Comey to, he said he hoped that Comey would drop the Flynn investigation. But in the process of then deciding to fire him, he created a whole bigger issue than he had to begin with, right? Whatever was happening with the Russia investigation had not led to the kind of spectacle that we saw today, where the president's own former FBI director was accusing him of not being a truth teller. So, you know, he's created a problem for himself through his own actions. We now have a very likely situation where Bob Mueller could be investigating President Trump for obstruction of justice. We don't know whether that's true or not. That was one thing that we learned today from Jim Comey when he said that he had given over his memos of the conversations he had with the president to Bob Mueller. That does suggest an interest on the part of investigators. And in any case, he sort of raised this question of obstruction of justice or impeding an investigation to a point where it's going to be debated and hanging out there now for quite a long time. So rather than making the problem go away, rather than lifting the cloud, which is the phrase that Jim Comey said he used, the cloud at this point is here for quite a while.
Jeremy Bash, where was the damage the greatest? The potential obstruction case that Comey contributed to today? Or, again, as some of the coverage would have it tonight, Comey's admission that he leaked those contemporaneous notes to try to bring about a special counsel?
Yeah, I think two parts, Brian. First, James Comey, a man of impeccable credentials and impeccable rectitude, stating that he believed the President of the United States directed him after clearing the room in the Oval Office to shut down a criminal investigation into misconduct of his own associates. I thought that was particularly damning, but perhaps even more so, that the President failed to protect the United States of America against an attack.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.